Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel Immunology Medici. Today I will talk about the basics of the immune system. So my lecture will be useful for the students of undergrads, postgrads, the aspiring students of CSIR NET, GATE and also the MBBS students. Please try to follow my lecture and try to match the lecture with the diagram that is displayed in each of the screen, and just stop the video wherever you want to. Before we talk about the immune system, let us first know about some of the very interesting and common human pathogens. So, what is a pathogen? A pathogen is any microorganism or a causative agent that causes a particular disease. For example, the viruses, poliovirus, it causes polio. For example, fungi. Then there are parasites, there are also bacteria. So all of these are examples of pathogens. They cause several diseases in human system. Among the viruses, the poliovirus cause polio. Then there are human immunodeficiency virus that causes AIDS, and then there are rubella virus that causes measles. Then there are parasites. For example, the Plasmodium species. So Plasmodium is a protozoan parasite that causes malaria. Then there are also protozoan parasites like Leishmania major that causes leishmaniasis. Then there are Entamoeba histolytica that causes amoebic colitis. So you have to know that parasites are microorganisms. So parasites are organisms that cause damage to the host and they are metabolically dependent on the host. Now there are some important bacteria. You may have heard about Mycobacterium tuberculosis that causes tuberculosis, and there are Vibrio cholerae which cause cholera, and so on. Now the relation between these microorganisms is understandable only when we discuss what is immunity and what do you mean by immune system. So immunity is a state of protection from infectious disease in host, and immune system is the collections of all the cells, tissues, molecules, organs which mediate this resistance against infection. Now the immune system has two functional component. The first one is the recognition and second one is the response. So the immune system first it recognizes the foreign molecules and then accordingly it responds. So this response can be of two types. The first response, which is immediate response, is called effector response, and the response that is shown in the future against the same pathogen is called memory response. So effector response is to eliminate or neutralize the pathogen immediately, and the memory response is a rapid and heightened response to future insult. That means the immune system of our body has certain roles or functions. So by this you already have understood that the roles are, for example, defense against infections and then defense against tumors. So tumors are altered self cells, and then immune system can also respond to tissue grafts and newly introduced molecules. So grafting means taking a portion of tissue from another organism of the same species and putting into the particular host. And then immune system can also causes pathologic inflammation. It will be interesting to know how old is our immune system. So if we discuss the immunity in metazoans, now you know that metazoans are those organisms which are multicellular in nature. So if you see, the innate immunity exists starting from higher plants to mammals. However, the adaptive immune system is evident only in vertebrates. So that means the invertebrates do not have the component of the adaptive immune system. Now, in the course of evolution, one of the functional component of the innate immunity called phagocytosis, that is present in both invertebrate as well as vertebrate. However, we don't see this property of phagocytosis in higher plants. And then there are some antimicrobial peptides that are present in higher plants, in some arthropods, and in some amphibians, and in some of the mammals. Now you see the T and B lymphocytes are present in all vertebrates, and because we know that antibodies are produced from the B lymphocytes, so antibodies are as expected present in all of the vertebrates. That means we can actually group the host immune system. So the one group is called the innate immune system, and the another group or category is called adaptive immune system. So how the innate immune system differs from the adaptive immune system, that is the question. So in the case of innate immune system, there are certain cell types which are involved. For example, the phagocytes, then there are dendritic cells, there are natural killer cells, and the complement system. So all these are part of the innate immune system. And in the case of the adaptive immune system, the B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes are very functional important component, because the B lymphocytes produces antibodies and T lymphocytes take part in elimination of the antigen. So innate immunity and adaptive immunity can be efficiently compared in terms of the specificity to antigen. That means in the case of innate immunity, the components of the innate immunity recognize a particular molecular pattern present on the microbe. However, in case of the adaptive immunity, the component of the adaptive immunity can actually recognize the minute details of the antigen that the host encounter. Next, come to the receptors which are involved in either innate immunity or adaptive immunity. So in the case of innate immunity, the receptors are encoded in the germline. That means that receptors are already present in the germline. So because of that, they have a very limited diversity. The example of the receptors are like toll-like receptors, and then there are mannose receptor, scavenger receptor. So these receptors are present on various immune cells, for example phagocytes, NK cells, etc. However, in the case of receptors of the adaptive immune system, the receptors are immunoglobulins or T cell receptors, B cell receptors, etc. So the difference between the receptors of the innate and the adaptive immunity is that in the case of adaptive immunity, the receptors undergo a change called somatic recombination of the gene segments which are encoded in the germline. By this process, what happens is that the genes are recombined in the somatic cells, and that is a kind of maturation that is required for efficient expression of these receptors and functioning of the adaptive immune system. Next, come to the distribution of receptors. So the identical receptors are present on all cells of the same lineage. So the receptors are identical on all the cells. However, in this case, the receptors are identical only if they belong to the same clone of the cells. So if they belong to the same lineage of the clone, different clone of the cells will have different specificities to particular antigen. Now another important property is the discrimination of normal and self and non-self. So be it innate immunity or adaptive immunity, both can recognize the host cell itself. However, in the case of adaptive immunity, there are sometimes the adaptive immunity, the components of the adaptive immunity, it malfunctions, and therefore those cells are selected against the reactivity to the host itself. That means by doing this, it prevents autoimmunity. Now the components of the innate immunity. So the functional parts of the innate immunity is very diverse, starting from the anatomical barrier, which is skin. So skin serves as a mechanical barrier, and it retards the entry of microbes. Because of the acidic environment of the skin, it retards the growth of the microbes. So skin is a part of the innate immune system. Now the mucous membrane. So mucous membrane present, for example, in the nasal passage, etc., in respiratory system. The normal flora which are present in the mucous membrane, they compete with the microbes, foreign microbes, for attachment sites and nutrients, and this is the process by which they eliminate the foreign microbes. Now in the mucous membrane, the mucus that is present, it entraps foreign microorganisms, and therefore it can eliminate the microorganisms. Also the cilia which are present in the mucous membrane, they can propel the microorganisms out of the body. Then let's come to the physiologic barrier. For example, the temperature, our normal body temperature, that inhibits the growth of many pathogens. Then, as you know, the fever response, whenever we have fever, that is basically, it's a response of our body to inhibit the growth of many pathogens. Now the low pH which is present in the stomach contents, it kills most of the ingested microorganisms. Then there are chemical mediators, for example lysozyme, that is present in the tears, it cleaves the bacterial cell wall. Then the interferon, that induces antiviral state in uninfected cells. And now the complement proteins, they are also part of the innate immune system. And then there are toll-like receptors, there are collectins, all these are part of the innate immune system. And then the next is the very important component is the phagocytic or endocytic barrier. Then in our body there are various cell types, for example the monocytes, neutrophils, tissue macrophages, etc. What they do is they can take up the foreign microbes and they can digest and kill it. So this is a kind of endocytosis by which the foreign pathogens are eliminated. Next, the inflammation, that is also part of the innate immune system. Inflammation also eliminates many pathogens. Now if we just little bit discuss the little bit details of the phagocytosis. So what are the steps of phagocytosis? First you have to know that phagocytosis is one kind of endocytosis. Endocytosis is defined by it is defined by the fact that it's a physiological process that is all about taking up of matter by a living cell by invagination of its membrane to form a vacuole. And phagocytosis is one kind of endocytosis where particulate matter is taken up by the cell. Now what happens in this phagocytosis procedure is that first the cell creates this kind of pseudopodium, and the invading pathogen, let's say this is a bacterium, so this bacterium gets attached to this kind of cellular pseudopodia, and then this bacteria is taken inside the cell, and this is now called a phagosome, and this phagosome can now fuse with lysosome, and because there are enzymes present inside the lysosome and lysosome has very low pH, now at this pH these enzymes are active and it can digest the bacteria very well, and this is the procedure by which the infection is eliminated. Next is the inflammatory response. So you know that inflammatory response is one kind of functional response generated by the innate immune system. So how do you define inflammation? So basically inflammation is a kind of tissue damage caused by a wound or by an invading pathogenic microorganism. So this process induces a complex sequence of events. What are the events? So first, this is the tissue damage because of this invading bacteria. What happens is that there is a process called vasodilation. That means the capillary will be swollen. In the second step, what happens is that the capillaries are now permeable and it allows an influx of fluid and cells. So these are the cells that now they escape the capillary wall, and these cells can now reach at the site of infection. And what is next? Now these cells, what they do is they phagocytose the microorganisms or bacteria, whatever is there as infectious molecule, and eliminate the infection. So these phagocytes, they reach at the site of infection due to the chemokine gradient. So they can sense the presence of chemokine and then they can reach. So this process is called chemotaxis. So far we talked about innate immune system. Now let us talk about the adaptive immune system. So adaptive, as the name suggests, the adaptive immune system means your immune system, it adapts in response to a particular invading pathogen. So the adaptive immune system is a second line of defense. The innate immune system is the first line of defense. So what happens is that this is a good example. This is a mouse. Now this mouse has some kind of infection. Now what happens is that the adaptive immune system is of two types. The first is called humoral response and the second is called cell mediated response. So humoral immune response is mediated by B lymphocytes and cell mediated immune response is mediated mostly by T lymphocytes. So what happens in the case of humoral response? So these B lymphocytes, they can take up the foreign pathogens and then they can become activated to secrete soluble antibodies. So generation of antibodies is very crucial in evoking a successful immune response. And in the case of cell mediated immune response, what happens is that these T cells can first get help from the antigen presenting cells, for example B cells, dendritic cells, macrophages, etc. And then they can crosstalk with the cell, and after that they can secrete certain kind of cytokines. So these cytokines in turn activate more T cells, and these T cells can now become serve as an effector T cells. So generation of an effector T cells is an important functional component of the cell mediated immune response. If you now summarize the properties of adaptive immune system, so let us first talk about the specificity. So what happens is that in the case of adaptive immune system, it ensures that distinct antigens elicit responses that target those antigens. That means the adaptive immune system, it can recognize the minute details and differentiate one antigen from the other. Next is the diversity. So adaptive immune system is very diverse functionally. That means it enables the immune system to respond to a very large variety of antigens. Next is the memory. Memory means recognizing the pathogenic insult by the immune system. The same pathogen, if it encounters in the future, so you will get a faster and heightened immune response. That is called memory of the adaptive immune system. Fourth is the clonal expansion. That means a particular clone of lymphocyte will divide more and more in order to increase the number of that antigen specific lymphocyte to counter against the pathogen. Then you see the specialization. So the adaptive immune system is very much specialized, and it can actually customize its immune response against various pathogens. Then the contraction and homeostasis. That means, what is contraction? Contraction means after a successful elimination of a particular pathogen, the cells, the molecules, all these are actually, what happens is that the adaptive immune system can basically contract the number of these cells and the molecules so that our body is not harmed anymore. And then come to the non-reactivity to self. That means the adaptive immune system can differentiate between self and non-self. So it will not show immune response against the self tissue or self cells. If it does, then it's a kind of pathogenic condition that is called autoimmunity. For the ease of our understanding, if we now try to compare between humoral and cell mediated immunity, what we get is that, so in the case of humoral immunity, the microbes are extracellular. However, in case of the cell mediated immunity, the microbes are phagocytosed by macrophages or other antigen presenting cells, or the microbes are actually intracellular, for example the viruses. Now in case of the humoral immunity, the responding cells are the principal cells are the B lymphocytes. However, in case of the cell mediated immunity, the principal cells which mediate this immune response are T cells. So because there are two kind of cells, one is called helper T cell and another is called cytotoxic T lymphocytes. So there are two kind of T lymphocytes that mediate the adaptive immune system. And next, in the case of humoral immunity, the effector mechanism is mediated by this kind of soluble secreted antibodies or immunoglobulins. In the case of cell mediated immunity, the effector mechanism is mediated by the crosstalk between antigen presenting cells which are now activated with T cells. So a crosstalk between antigen presenting cells and T cells are very important in order to mount an effective cell mediated immune response. Anyway, either it is humoral immune response or cell mediated immunity, so the final outcome is that both this kind of immunity, they eliminate the infection. Now you have to have the concept of what is primary and secondary immune response. If you follow this graph, you see there are two peaks. This blue peak, the first one is little short and the second one is little heightened, right? It is, so the magnitude of this peak is more than the first one. So what does this indicate? So this one is the primary immune response against antigen A, and this peak is the secondary immune response against the repeated exposure of the same antigen. So basically the primary immune response is the first exposure to a particular antigen, and that is mediated by the lymphocytes called naive lymphocytes that are seeing the antigen for the first time. The term the naive refers to these cells being immunologically inexperienced, not having previously responded to antigens. So they have never seen the antigen before, right? So they are the naive cells. Now what happens is that once the primary immune response occurs, few of the cells they remain as memory cells for the future encounter with the same pathogens, and whenever a subsequent encounters with the same antigen lead to a response called secondary immune response. So this secondary immune response is characterized by the fact that it is much more rapid, it's larger, and it's better able to eliminate the antigen than the primary immune response. So the secondary immune responses are the result of the activation of the memory lymphocytes, which are long-lived cells that were induced during the primary immune responses. Now if you compare the primary or secondary immune response with that of the innate immune response, you see there is no change in terms of the magnitude of the immune response between innate or the primary and secondary immune response. So primary and secondary immune responses are the part of the adaptive immune system, and this one is the innate immune system. So this is sufficient to understand the basics of the immune system, like the how the immune system works in our body. So in next time I'll come up with a new chapter of immunology. Goodbye till then.